Happy Sunday, everybody. It's Jamie Green, the Solar Queen, and it's a football kind of day today. I haven't watched much football all year long, but I understand that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won, which means Tom Brady's going to the Super Bowl again. And I think we got the Kansas City and Buffalo Bills game on. It looks like Kansas City is going to be going to the Super Bowl. So I don't know if you guys are Super Bowl fans, or football fans, but it is always fun to watch a Super Bowl. And I mean, what can you say about Tom Brady? Anyways, today's show, I am wanting to discuss what happens when there's a power cut or a power shutoff and you have solar power. So the forecast for here in Northern California is an atmospheric rain river is coming, I think, to all of like the Northwest and California. So I grew up in Puyallup, Washington. I spent 30 years of my life in Washington State. I am very, very familiar with rainfall and gray skies. Hey, Kellen. Good. Thanks for watching tonight. I hope you are going to stay dry because the river of rain, or the atmospheric river, is going to be coming into our, I guess, part of the country. So I guess that must mean good stuff for like Tahoe and all the ski resorts if it's cold enough, because it still feels pretty cold, which was crazy because last weekend we had like 80-degree temperatures, which felt like summertime. It was bizarre. But so I grew up in Washington State, where gray skies and rainfall was common, and I got used to it. It took me a long time to start using an umbrella here in California, but I was out at a site, like a preliminary site survey. Went out to a homeowner's house on Friday morning to check out their property because they have an existing ground mount for thermal solar, and it's a really old thermal solar system, and it's like damaged. It doesn't even work anymore, but they want to replace it and put solar panels, a ground mount solar system on their property. And it was pouring rain on Friday, so I did use an umbrella for that day. Otherwise, I would have been completely drenched and soaked. So my understanding is that the weather report is forecasting heavy rains and heavy winds. And you may or may not have received a notification that the utility companies may or may not shut off your power. So if you're hearing that for the first time, you're welcome. You can prepare for that. But for people who have solar power and solar panels on their rooftop, or fixed into the ground like a ground mount, you need to understand that your solar power is going to not work during a power cut. And so, and that's for safety reasons. The inverter shuts down and it will shut off your solar system and you will be out of power. Kellen just got her notification. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I have a couple of installations happening late next week and early the following week, and I'm already preparing them that it's possible that those are going to be delayed due to weather. Nothing I can do about that. And you don't want to install solar panels on a rainy day or upgrade a main service panel on a rainy day. So yeah, oftentimes I'll go into my utility account and just check it out, and I see all those messages that there may be a power shutoff because of weather. And it sounds like that's going to happen. So we'll see if the weatherman's a liar or not, weather reporter's a liar, or if it's really going to happen. I feel like last week's storm kind of came up suddenly. I don't remember seeing that it was going to be super windy, but thankfully we didn't have any power cuts because of the wind, and they were up to 60 miles per hour, which is kind of crazy. So during a windstorm, if your utility company does cut your power for safety reasons, because of liabilities on their part, they don't want to have any fires or any injuries or anything happening because of everything that they've been held responsible for in the past few years, they're going to cut your power. Possibly they'll give you hopefully a notification well in advance. My son just came in the door and I'm shooing him away because he's been wanting to play his iPad. Go, Kian. Please. Thank you. He's been playing his iPad for many, many hours, and he continues to ask to play. So I have to be the mom and say, no, you can't play anymore. So anyhow, going back to the power safety shutoff, you should be getting emergency warnings on your phone. Hopefully they'll give you enough hours in advance to notify you if there is a power cut. If you have just solar, a standalone solar, you're going to lose the power to your home just like your neighbors who don't have solar. The only ones that are going to be immune to the power cut are those that have backup batteries. And so what I've been seeing more and more here in California is people are adding their a backup battery to their solar system so that they don't have to worry about losing power to outlets, to critical loads. So your refrigerator and lights. Obviously, you don't want to be powering super heavy loads. Like you're not going to run your dishwasher during a power cut. You're not going to run your air conditioning during a power cut. And in fact, if you do have a backup battery, you want to be paying attention to your nixles or emergency alerts. And just one moment. Okay, sorry about that. If you do have a backup battery, pay attention to your nixles or pay attention to your neighbors if their power is cut, because you want to go. Your battery is usually tied into a sub panel that's only going to power your critical loads. But still, you want to still go into conservation mode, because that, depending on when the power is cut, if it's during, like, say, the evening time and you don't know that the power has been cut and you're going to run all your appliances that are still a part of the critical load, you don't want to drain your battery too fast. You want to conserve it and let it back up the refrigerator, let it charge your cell phone and be able to turn on a light or whatnot. I don't imagine that a TV and a modem, like, your internet router would drain your battery too much, but you do want to let it carry you through the night so that when the sun rises again, it'll recharge your battery and it'll power up the critical loads in your house. So that's the only way that you're going to stay immune to a power cut if you're solar powered, is with a backup battery. So there's pros and cons to backup batteries. There are people that are like, we're going to take the risk. We're going to forgo the battery. Because a lot of reasons is because of cost. The cost of batteries are still kind of expensive, but I guess what is expensive is relative to you and what you and your household thinks is expensive. But if it just means that you have peace of mind and your home isn't going to be disrupted because of a power cut that's forced by the utility company. I mean, clearly, if a tree falls down and cuts the power to the power line, you're going to be covered. But these planned public safety power shutoffs, this is a new thing. It's a new thing since last year. And several of us who live in California lived through it. And it was, for some, 5 days, 6 days long due to the fires and everything. So if you are considering solar for your home and you do experience power cuts, you would probably want to consider getting a backup battery. Now, the cost of the backup battery can be included in with the cost of your solar system. And if you need a main panel upgrade, that can be included in the cost of your solar system. And that would all, and consult your tax consultant, because I'm not a tax advisor, but all of that cost, including the backup battery, can qualify for the 26% federal tax credit. So that's good information for those, who are thinking of a backup battery. It's not going to cost you 100%. It's going to cost you, 74% of the cost of a backup battery. And it's going to last you a long time. The warranties on backup batteries are usually 10 years, regardless of which battery you get. There's several batteries on the market. LG, the Tesla Powerwall, Enphase has a backup battery. Generac has one. Sunrun has their bright boxes. Lots of backup battery options. Some are going to be better than others. and you'll want to do your research, or if you have questions, you can send me a message about that. But the batteries themselves usually have warranties that are going to be about 10 years long, and they're going to have, it's going to be like a car warranty. You know, like you can drive a car, you're going to buy a car, say you're going to buy the car, and you some people go out 7 years for car payments, but the car is only warranted usually for 3 years or 36,000 miles. So it's whatever comes first. It's the same with the backup battery. It's either 10 years or typically about 22 megawatts of throughput energy. And that's a lot of power that's going to come through. During, you're going to use that in the time that you have your home solar system and the backup battery for time of use. If you use it during time of use, which is or peak hours, which is from 4 to 9 p.m., or during during a power cut. So Lauren asks, if we get the backup battery backup a different year from the solar, can we get the tax credit again? That's a good question. I'm not sure. You would definitely need to, here's the thing with solar and backup batteries. It is best to get backup batteries at the same time as going solar because it requires different inverters. So the inverter, I've talked about the inverter several times on the show. The solar panels are put on your rooftop or on a ground mount. There's conduit that runs to the inverter, and the inverter is what's going to convert the energy from direct current into alternating current. So alternating current is what runs through our houses. And then the inverter is going to tie in to the backup battery. And then those two, the backup battery and the inverter, will tie into the main panel. So it's really important that if you're considering a backup battery, like I haven't seen in the year prior too many people getting backup batteries, but ever since the utilities have implemented their public safety power shutoffs, I've seen an increase in the backup battery purchases going in with the solar systems. So I will find out the answer to your question about backup batteries, Lauren, for being installed after the fact. But you would need to have your inverter switched out and then have the battery tied into an inverter that is compatible with your battery. So I hope that answers your question about that just addresses why it's important to get your backup battery installed at the same time as going solar. You're very welcome, Lauren. But I will find out for you and let you know. I'll send you an email and let you know. So it is kind of critical when you're starting to have the conversation about going solar. One of the questions I always ask people when considering solar is, what is your plan during a power cut? Like, are you planning to, go without power and take that chance? Most people, the risk of losing power is losing all the food in the refrigerator or deep freezer. Hopefully your deep freezer, if you don't open it up, it's going to keep everything frozen and safe, but there's always a test. What I do for a test for me, if I know a power cut is coming, I will take a shallow, like Tupperware dish, like a little tiny dish, like a plastic dish, and then put some water in there, and then I will let it freeze. So it's like an ice cube. I guess you could do it with an ice cube tray. And then I will put a penny on top of the frozen water and put it in there so that if I know there's a power cut coming, I can go in after the power is restored, go into my freezer, open up the freezer, and see if the water has melted, the penny's going to sink into the water. So that's a good test. And if you never knew how to do that, I think I just learned that maybe a few years ago. But that's a good test to see, especially like if you go on vacation too. Like you go on vacation and you have, you're gone for 7 days or so. It's a good idea to do the same thing because you just never know if the power is going to be cut or if your freezer has lost power and you don't want to get sick from spoiled food that has, thawed out and then refrozen. How do you size your backup battery? That's a great question, Dan. Typically, for most households that are getting solar, I would say the average system size here in California is between 6 and 7 kilowatts of solar. And usually one backup battery is going to be sufficient for that. So backup batteries they're kind of rated differently. So for instance, the LG Chem Resu 10 backup battery, it is 5 kilowatts of power that stores 10 kilowatt hours of energy. Most households, like for instance, our home on average, we use about 13 kilowatt hours a day. So for us, like if we had a backup battery, and here's the other thing is our solar system is about 4 kilowatts. It's a 4 kilowatt system size. It may not be able to recharge our battery all the way, like on a daily basis, because our system is so, especially in the wintertime, our system produces on a sunny day during the middle of the winter 7 kilowatt hours. So, I mean, if you imagine, that's less than what a battery is going to store up. So, and we use 13. So your solar system needs to be, I would say, to be on the safe side, at least 5.5, 6 kilowatt system size to be able to power up, to recharge the backup battery, especially if you're using it on a daily basis during the peak time of use, which is 4 to 9 p.m. And in the wintertime, obviously, in some parts of the country, the sun sets around 4 o'clock, 4:30 p.m. So it's important to make sure that your solar system is large enough to be able to charge up that battery. And then if you use more energy than the average homeowner, which several homeowners do use, depending on where they live in the state and in the country, for homeowners that live where it's hot and they need to run their air conditioning all the time, they're going to have much larger systems, like 15, 16, 17, sometimes 18 kilowatt system sizes. And for those homeowners, I recommend, if they're going to want backup batteries, to do at least 2 backup batteries. It all just depends on what they're wanting to have backed up during a power cut, because that's really the essential thing, is to carry someone through a power cut. Time of use, peak kilowatt hours means your solar system is going to charge up your backup battery and during the daytime, and then excess energy that beyond the storage of the backup batteries is going to go back out to the grid, and your utility company is going to store those kilowatt hours, give you credit for the kilowatt hours that your system overproduced. And then what essentially would happen is you would use the the stored energy in the backup battery during the peak hours, so 4 to 9 p.m. You would use that first. Hopefully it carries you through until 9 p.m. And then once your batteries have been depleted, then you're going to pull from those credits that were stored up in your net energy metering account. And the reason, the benefit for that is the peak kilowatt hour is more expensive than the non-peak kilowatt hours. So the exchange ratio is a 1-to-1 versus 0.75 to 1. Like if you were debiting from your net energy metering credits during the 4 to 9 p.m., you're debiting at the peak kilowatt hour rate instead of the non-peak kilowatt hour rate. So I hope that makes sense. It's easier to explain on paper, and I still haven't figured out how to, I was thinking about that today. Like I should try and hook up my iPad and draw and see if I can share my screen and draw. So I'll have to figure out how to do that. But the backup batteries generally come in one size, based on the manufacturer, and it's going to have a power rating and an energy rating. So 5 kilowatt hours of power is how much it's going to be able to, those appliances that you need, it's going to be able to support those the power ratings. And then the energy is in the kilowatt hours. So storage up to 10 kilowatt hours. They are coming out with whole house backup batteries that are going to be, a little bit more of a higher power rating and a larger storage capacity, like 20 kilowatt hours. It's kind of the same thing if you stack two backup batteries together, two 5 kilowatt powered backup batteries that store 10 kilowatt hours. You can set it up to where it would be 10 kilowatts of power. So that's, the kilowatts of power that come through your home, like your refrigerator. Maybe you do want to run your dishwasher. I just wouldn't recommend it. Then you would still have 10 total kilowatt hours of energy to use with those 10 kilowatts of power. Or you would just do 5 kilowatts of power and have 20 kilowatt hours of energy to use during the day. So there's different ways to use and set up the backup batteries. I am still learning all the technicalities of backup batteries, but from my training with LG, that is how how you can use the backup batteries. So the other thing is the inverter is really important too. The kinds of inverters. There are some new inverters coming out where they will they'll provide the backup power. They will convert the energy for your home and your solar system, as well as backing up, using the backup batteries tied in with your solar system, as well as a level 2 electric vehicle car charger. So technology in the inverter space is improving from, in the last year or two. So it's really exciting for homeowners who want backup batteries and EVs, electric vehicles. A lot of these car manufacturers are all moving to having an electric vehicle fleet. It's coming whether we like it or not. So more and more homeowners are going to be going solar powered, having backup storage and electric vehicles. So the inverters, which is like the brains of the entire solar system, meaning the solar panels on your rooftop, is really important to have that technology there for you. So hi, Mark. I hope you're having a great evening. Thanks for watching. So this atmospheric river is coming through and we're going to have a lot of rainfall. And the good news is your solar panels, if you have them installed, they're going to be cleaned off real nicely for you. And that also might mean that the atmospheric river is accompanied with wind. My son keeps interrupting. I apologize for that. And I don't know why my husband is not helping me with this because he's in the other room. In fact, I wanted him to come on the show this week, but he decided not to. He needs to be prepared to do it, to come on. I wanted him to come on and talk about what his opinion and thoughts are about solar energy. So he'll come on eventually. So anyways, that's really the gist of my show today is for you living in Northern California who have solar power, and you don't have a backup battery, be prepared for a power cut. It might be coming, and if it does, make sure you pack your freezer with, water bottles. Do all the things you need to do to, keep all your frozen goods frozen. It really stinks because we just went to Costco and our freezer is packed full with frozen goods and our refrigerator is packed with food too. So I guess we will be eating all that food as quickly as possible just in case, which also serves as a reminder. I know, I don't know why I'm doing this except for be prepared for emergencies. So, make sure your garage or your pantry is filled with foods that are non-perishable. Because, the last power cut we went through was 5 days for us at least. And so we ate all of our refrigerated food in the first probably 24 hours because that's about as long as your refrigerator is going to keep things cold. So, just take water bottles and put them in the freezer so it acts as ice packs to keep your freezer cold. And then if you did that, then you could also potentially take those iced ice water bottles, those frozen water bottles, and stuff them in your fridge too, just to prolong it. But then try not to open up your refrigerator and freezer too much, because then it's just going to let all the cold air out. And so that's not good either. So atmospheric river equals rain. Yes, Mark, it's a thing. Like, I grew up in Washington State, and we would get like atmospheric rivers, which meant just flooding. Like in Washington State, there was a lot of flooding, a lot of rivers. We'd always be watching to see when the rivers were going to crust and what that meant, for communities all over Washington State. I don't think it's so much of an issue here in California. There's not as many rivers near me. There's some streams and creeks, but when the creek gets really high from all the rainfall, everyone is excited because it then turns in like a, what is it? A whitewater river almost. So yeah. And then the kids love it when after the rains come and it's kind of, things have leveled off. They love going and throwing rocks into the river, and there's a waterfall that we go on a waterfall hike here in Marin County. And so lots of fun things happen after the rains, but there is a public safety power shutoff, like possibly planned. So that's what I'm talking about today, and what happens to people's solar power if they have solar power. So again, if you don't have a backup battery, your inverter is going to cut it off from the power grid, so that it protects the power lines and any linemen working on it, and protecting what are they called? Those transmitters, the big oh gosh, I can't even remember what they're called, but every now and then I'll hear a big, not an explosion, but a big boom, and it's the transactors or something at the substation, because we live not too far from a substation. Hi, Doug Wing. I hope you are safely in your new home state of Arizona. It's been exciting to watch your little moving journey. And I was wearing your wingman shirt all day today. I was, Doug is Doug Wing, and he's was kind enough to send me one of his wingman shirts from Top Gun. So yeah. So power safety shut off, your power is going to be cut. You're not going to have power if you're just solar powered. If you have a backup battery, pay attention to your neighbors. Okay, thank you. Yeah, transformers. Sometimes they blow, right? It's kind of like when an engine like backfires. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But sometimes those blow, and you just, for safety reasons, they're going to your inverter is going to shut off. It's called a rapid safety shut off, and it happens quickly, and it's going to wait for the power lines to re-energize and be consistent in their re-energization. I don't even know if that's a word, but I just made it up. It's going to read those signals, and then it'll power up your solar system again, your inverter to power up your solar system again. And also, if it's nighttime, your solar system's not working for you, so you're pulling energy from the grid anyway. So that's how it works. If you have a backup battery, pay attention. Make sure you're not draining your battery too fast because you think that you have power, and really you're running off of your backup battery. So that's important. And then if you're interested in solar for your home and you're wanting to have a conversation about backup batteries, I am more than happy to have that conversation with you guys about that. And I'll put my email address here for you so that you can email me, or you can, if you're watching on Facebook or Instagram, you can send me a message. A lot of people do that. They just will send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and they say, "Hi, Jamie, I would like to talk to you about solar." And I say, "Sure, let's talk about solar." So here you go. Here's my email address right here. You can email me there. And if you're a business owner and you have a commercial property, or you have a commercial property, or if you have a piece of like farmland and you use a lot of energy because you have a water pump for irrigation and all that stuff, or you just use a lot of energy, or say you are a producer of produce and you are sending it, you have refrigeration and you're tired of spending a lot of money on your power bill, you can email me as well for solar for your business. And that email address, here, I'll save this and you can, so this Jamie at jamiegreenthesolarqueen.com is my residential. Really, you can just email me at any one of them, but Excelsior Solar, Jamie at excelsiorsolar.com is where you can email me about solar for your business or corporation. I have access if you need a carport, if you want a carport with solar panels on it, I can do that for you too. If you need a ground mount, lots of, ground mount, you have space, if you have a vineyard or something like that, and you use a lot of energy, I can put those in your property. It's really amazing because these ground mounts are these trackers and they move and rotate with the sun. And the ROI is much quicker than a traditional ground mount or rooftop mounting. So like if you have a warehouse, obviously if you have a warehouse and you have enough warehouse rooftop space, you can put them on there, but these trackers will generate more energy, like 50% more energy, and save you 40% on the cost than a traditional ground mount. Actually, no, I reversed that. 40% more, 40% more energy and 50% savings. I think I said that right. So anyways, have a great night, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and stay safe, stay dry, stay warm as this atmospheric river approaches us. I think the rain has already started. And if you have solar installations happening in the next week or even week and a half, be prepared for the solar installation to be postponed and delayed due to weather. So I hope you're understanding of all that, regardless of who you're going solar with. But I do have a couple of customers that are anticipating that. So yeah, make it a great day, and I'll see you guys next week.